That and I know exactly who you're referring to. That beauty that does that. He doesn't see the inherent hypocrisy in a lot of his actions. As far as the double parking issue, it's something that I actually brought up to Shammon during his first term, actually. And that was increasing parking enforcement presence. Like if you can have 12 parking enforcement to make sure that nobody's parking on a certain street during street cleaning day, you can have them do a few loops around and start ticketing the double parking. It will stop because as soon as they get those tickets and they have to keep paying those tickets, and because there's so much construction going on now around 3rd Street, technically those fines are supposed to be doubled. It'll stop. Trust me, it will stop. But they don't want to use a punitive method to deter from the double parking, but it's creating a health and safety risk too because they've blocked like ambulances and fire trucks because of the double parking. So like in a very real way, it's a traffic issue, but it's also health and safety because every second that an ambulance is stuck behind someone's car because they ran out to go get a bag of chips from the corner store and just decided to take their time, someone could die. And people probably have, and we're not like factoring that in. Um, as far as like some of the issues like with the food bank and even like going back to the transportation, to your point, there are these mechanisms in place, but there are very few checks and balances. There's very little quality control. There's very little regulation. And that's where we're failing. The food pantry should never feel comfortable enough to say, oh, we dump that stuff in the Bayview because we know you guys will throw it away. So they can still meet their quota of how many bags and pounds of food they're giving out, whether or not it's edible. They're doing it specifically to the Bayview because they know our complaints will never be taken seriously. It's very deliberate. And it's just another example of systematic racism. We have these mechanisms. We have these mechanisms because we fought for them. And now we're being kept from being able to utilize them because of racism and racists who are in power there. Because this is an issue that goes back like 12 years at the food bank. It wasn't like this before. It's only recently become that way because of changes in their administration. And I know because I worked with my mom who ran a food pantry in the Bayview for 12 years. So I've seen it firsthand how that change impacted the quality of the food available because there is plenty of food available. There are a lot of stores that contract directly with the food pantry, the food that deliver food there because they can write it off on their corporate taxes. So the food is there. What we're seeing is deliberately being like the quality, the poorest quality of food being given to the most impacted neighborhood in favor of other neighborhoods. Because you can go into Viz Valley, you can go into Pacific Heights. They all have food pantries, food banks, and you can see the difference. It's night and day between the quality that comes off of those trucks from the food bank.
Yeah, and another issue that we definitely need to address. And I also want to say thank you to Christine, and if I'm saying this wrong, Maya, Executive Director of Alma Usos. Mental health is really important. There's also Rafiki in the Bayview. I think there are several others that we need to get the message out about. I know the Southeast Center has been renovated. I'm actually not quite sure who can actually go there.
It's open to everyone. They do take all forms of health insurance, I believe. San Francisco Health Plan, Medi-Cal. They also have some things with them just as far as from a customer service standpoint. The building is new, the staff is not. and I'm just gonna say it that way, just to
Yep.
but there have been a lot of complaints about the way the staff treats their patients and people who come there to ask for information. And it's an unacceptable level of disrespect and just detestment for um, the residents that utilize that, their medical services.
I,
Again, complaints often fall on deaf ears when it comes out of the Bayview and when it comes out of, black and brown mouths. It's just not taken as seriously.
thank you for that. Years ago, I actually went to them and said, hey, because they weren't taking like Blue Cross or some of the other ones. I'm like, how is that possible? I should be able to walk across, right, MLK Field and go get my blood drawn right there. Like, why do I have to now go across the city someplace to do this exact same thing? And oh, by the way, if you provide a service to the people who live in your neighborhood as an asset to all neighbors, we will go to bat for that, right? Like, you actually have all these great things that you could do right here, right? And empower your own neighbors to, like, to really sort of fight for you if you'd open it up. So if they're actually taking different health insurance now, kudos to them. But I know years ago they were not, and they were not open to it. Like simple things like, um, drawing blood, getting vaccines, like things like that. So that's good to hear. All right. I want to say thank you, everyone, for being part of this tonight. Um, you'll be getting a survey, a bunch of other things. You'll help us determine what our next one will be. I'm looking forward to this. Also, really, I'm going to put this out there, this whole idea of how can we work together on these issues, right? And for me it's, hey, how can we actually get a lot of people? Like I'm thinking, you're retired, we need you, right? Because maybe you can go to a meeting when the rest of us can't, right? You have some skill, let's do it. Like, let's not have a few people try to boil the ocean, so to speak, because there are a lot of issues. Let's just face it, right? Um, but is there a way for us to all get together, maybe take a little piece and use this and other methods to coordinate, right? To sort of try to move that needle forward. So with that, I just want to say thank you all. Have a good night.